In the episode Enemies Alamode, a Patrick Star Show episode, Patrick is supposed to host his variety show, but becomes obsessed with getting ice cream. And I can't really blame him. Ice cream's pretty good. I could go for like an Oreo McFlurry right now, but nonetheless, this episode's premise revolves around Patrick's family members confronting absurd rivalries. Well, Patrick himself is just more concerned with ice cream, with him chasing down an elusive ice cream truck. And this innocent setup actually hides a bunch of Easter eggs. For example, at one point of this episode, we get this like black and white segment, where it's a flashback featuring Grandpat recounting the ice cream prohibition era, a spoof on real life prohibition, where he frequented secret sweet easies until he was caught in jail. Now, during this flashback, eagle-eyed fans can spot a blink and you'll miss it Easter egg. As Grandpat is hauled into a paddy wagon, we can see this eel inmate inside of the truck right here. Now, he may just seem like a random character, but it's actually been confirmed by SpongeBob staff that this character is related to another SpongeBob character. It was deliberately designed as the grandfather of Carlos Eel, a very obscure character from the SpongeBob episode Walking Small. In this episode, Walking Small, from all the way back in season 1, Carlos Eel steals SpongeBob's ice cream cone at Goo Lagoon by sliding straight through SpongeBob's body to snatch the cone. Plankton then forces SpongeBob to be assertive, famously shouting through SpongeBob's mouth. Terrified, Carlos bursts into tears and flees, tossing the ice cream back at SpongeBob.
Surrender that ice cream cone, or every waking moment for you will become a swirling torrent of pain and misery!
Well, this flashback in Enemies Alamode cleverly mirrors this history. And it's also just a really cool reference. I mean, Carlos Eel is like the most random deep cut character ever from a season 1 episode. So the fact that the art team and the writers went out of their way to include a character that's related to him is really cool. Another fun fact about this is that Grandpat's eel cellmate got jailed for ice cream related crimes, which is very funny because if you remember, Carlos Eel stole SpongeBob's ice cream. So there's even some really cool continuity there. Like, this writer and artist who did like all the conceptual art for him is a true SpongeBob fan. Like, that's a true SpongeBob nerd just like me. Speaking of ice cream though, Enemies Alamode features another rare character return. This guy right here, the ice cream truck driver himself, or the waiter from the SpongeBob SquarePants movie. Early in the episode, Patrick chases down a cheerful ice cream vendor named Walter, who upon seeing Patrick approaching is struck in with horror. And through a flashback to their childhood, we learn why. As a kid, Patrick tasted Walter's ice cream and went absolutely ballistic, like the dude just went completely fair. Now, longtime viewers will recognize Goofy Goobers as the ice cream parlor from the SpongeBob SquarePants movie. In fact, Walter appears to be the very same green ice cream man who has repeatedly suffered at the hands of Patrick and SpongeBob in the past, with them just covering him in ice cream. For example, this scene right here from the SpongeBob SquarePants movie from 2004.
Why do I always get the nuts?
A similar gag like this occurs in the season 11 episode Patanocchio, where Patrick, under Plankton's influence, orders this crazy massive ice cream order of sundaes. And being the clumsy starfish that he is, he flings one right into the same vendor's face. Our poor guy Walter is just always getting hit with ice cream. Well, in Enemies Alamode, it's implied that Walter is the very same vendor, with a very traumatic past with Patrick. Patrick even kept a childlike crayon drawing of the mean old ice cream man as his sworn enemy. This continuity makes the scene extra hilarious for fans. The poor ice cream man thought he'd seen the last of Patrick's chaos years ago, only to have the pink dude return wanting more ice cream and chasing him down throughout like the whole episode. And those aren't the only Easter eggs here. In Grandpat's Prohibition flashback, many character designs reference 1930s animation, and Squidina's popsicle in the present day is actually a reference itself. It's shaped like a bomb pop, a nod to a real life frozen treat. The episode's title itself, Enemies Alamode, echoes the season 5 SpongeBob episode title, Crabs Alamode. Another really good episode, by the way. All of these layers make this a really good episode filled with tons of references. Like, they're really cool. And I know what you guys clicked on this video for. You guys want more. But real quick, if you guys are enjoying this video, I'm gonna be annoying and ask if you guys can subscribe. I personally hate when YouTubers beg people to subscribe, but guys, I put a lot of time into these videos. They're really hard because I have to confirm every single Easter egg and reference, and I use no AI. I'm not like all of these other crappy AI channels. So I'm gonna shut up and get back to the Easter eggs, but please subscribe if you're enjoying the video. Pretty please. Our next episode is a really good one from season 9. Like, I can't even believe that this episode released all the way back in 2016, which was 10 years ago, but the episode is Lame and Fortune. And this is a SpongeBob episode with an unusual premise. Fortune cookies and Bikini Bottom start accurately predicting the future, which Plankton naturally tries to exploit. And I mean, I can't blame him. Imagine if you could get a fortune cookie and know your entire future. That'd be very convenient. Well, as SpongeBob and Plankton duel with fortunes, the episode slips in numerous visual gags and callbacks that reward hardcore SpongeBob nerds just like me and you. I mean, if you clicked on this video, you're just as much of a SpongeBob nerd as I am. But yeah, early on, Plankton gets accidentally squished under a customer's boot.
I have had enough!
Now, when he peels off the sole, his gooey splat is actually shaped like the old Nickelodeon Splat logo. And this might have been an accident, but I think that this one's intentional considering that SpongeBob is a Nickelodeon show. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, but this orange splat-shaped logo was Nick's iconic branding from the 1980s through to 2003. So it's very likely that the animators snuck in a cheeky network reference. And I love these types of references, as it's the kind of background joke that only fans with sharp eyes and nostalgia will actually catch. I mean, I remember watching this episode as a little kid and I didn't even realize that this was an Easter egg. Nonetheless though, it's really, really cool. And let's keep it going, as the fortune cookies themselves set up a darkly comedic sequence where Mr. Krabs imagines his own death.
You will die.
Oh, I'll miss you, Daddy. But I really can't wait to spend all your hard-earned money on shoes.
Me money.
In Mr. Krabs' daydream of his funeral, the show slips into very deep-cut references, or I guess you'd call these cameos. First is Grandpa Redbeard Krabs, the old pirate grandfather of Mr. Krabs. Redbeard hasn't been seen since the 2008 episode Grandpappy the Pirate, nearly a decade ago. In that episode, he came to visit, and Mr. Krabs pretended to still be a swashbuckling pirate, just to impress him, as Redbeard thinks that Mr. Krabs should be a pirate. He doesn't want him to own a restaurant.
What kind of ship are you running here? Just a second. I've smelled a lot of stinky things, but nothing smells stinkier than a lie.
Redbeard's quick appearance among the funeral attendees in Lame and Fortune is a reward for dedicated fans. For one, it confirms that Redbeard is alive and well in canon, and actually cares about his grandson. It's good to know that he'd go to the funeral. But yeah, also, a fun fact, this was only Redbeard's second ever appearance, making it a true deep cut. But there's actually more going on here. I wonder if you guys already spotted it, but don't worry, Cartoon Corey's got you covered. As during that same funeral, we can spot one of Mr. Krabs' 3 little nephews. These nephews, a nod to classic duck nephews, Huey, Dewey, and Louie from DuckTales, were seen extremely briefly in the episode Stanley S. SquarePants as part of like a quick throwaway gag. Like, they weren't like actual characters, they were just there for a joke.
I even turned down me own 3 adorable nephews.
My Uncle Krabs!
They solve mysteries. How go solve the mystery of why you didn't get the job?
In Lame and Fortune, one nephew, I don't know what happened to the other 2, can be seen right here, and it's such a blink and you'll miss it Easter egg that casual viewers would probably have no idea who this kid is. This was one of the character's first appearances in like 9 years, proving that somebody on the crew remembered that one-off joke and decided to include it. But let's keep it moving. As Plankton pursues the fortune cookie scheme, there's another sly cameo. In the chum bucket, we see a large green sea cucumber's leg among the crowd of customers, lured in by Plankton's fake fortunes. Well, that leg turns out to belong to Kevin C. Cucumber, the pompous leader of the Jelly Spotters Club from one of my favorite episodes and a classic banger episode, I'm Your Biggest Fanatic.
Hi, Kevin.
Hi. What is your question?
Hi, Kevin.
Kevin hadn't actually appeared in the main series since that season 2 appearance, so this was technically his first return in nearly 15 years. The show only gives us like a quick shot of his lower body for some reason, I don't know why, but we know it's him because of staff confirming it, but also if we do a side-by-side, we can tell it's his legs. At the time Lame and Fortune premiered, this cameo was a huge deal. Kevin was a fan favorite jerk character who many thought was long forgotten, but since then he does have more regular appearances, with him even being like a main main character on Camp Coral. But yeah, at the time, this was a really cool Easter egg. Fittingly, Layman Fortune was also a milestone for the series production. This episode debuted a new HD opening sequence, and with it, a new technique, as it's actually the very first time a SpongeBob episode used a CGI model of Bikini Atoll, the tiny palm tree island seen in the show's opening, in place of the old filmed footage. For years since 1999, the opening shot of the island was a real static image shown at the start of each episode. But by 2016, with the transition to high definition, Nickelodeon switched to a crisp computer-generated island model for the intro. This meant Layman Fortune's premiere featured a subtle visual change, with us getting this cool 3D shot of the island. Now, the reason was likely to modernize the look of the show, and it definitely accomplished that. Next up, we're gonna switch up the flow a little bit, and we're gonna talk about a SpongeBob video game, as even SpongeBob video games are not immune to Easter eggs. The Yellow Avenger, a 2005 video game for the PSP and DS, is an interesting one, where it sends SpongeBob on a superhero quest. While its plot stands apart from the TV episodes, the game's developers clearly did their homework on SpongeBob history, as all throughout the game's environments, they planted tons of references to classic episodes, effectively turning Bikini Bottom into a museum of SpongeBob moments. And this is what I love about the games. I'm probably going to start talking about more SpongeBob games in these videos, as there's tons of cool Easter eggs, like when SpongeBob visits Mrs. Puff's boating school in the game, he can find the famous Good Noodle board hanging on the classroom wall. We've talked about it in a few other Easter egg videos, just saying, but for those who don't know, this star chart board first appeared in the episode New Student Starfish from season 3. That's an old one, and it was used as a way for Mrs. Puff to track student behavior, with SpongeBob of course being the ultimate good noodle. In the Yellow Avenger video game, not only is the board present, but it's interactive. SpongeBob gets a mission to collect fallen Good Noodle stars to prove to Officer Nancy that he's a Good Noodle student. This is a direct callback to the episode where SpongeBob bragged about his Good Noodle stars to Patrick, and players familiar with this episode will definitely appreciate the continuity. I know I did, and when I seen it in the game, I was like, that's a cool reference. It's like a clever way to make the game feel connected to the SpongeBob universe. But I've got more. Entering Squidward's house in the game yields another treat, as there's a pixelated picture on Squidward's wall that on close inspection is actually a screenshot from one of my favorite episodes, Just One Bite. And this episode, as some of you probably know, it's revealed that Squidward has never ever eaten a Krabby Patty before. What a psycho. But once he tries one, he realizes that he loves them.
But it doesn't make any sense. The Krabby Patty is an absolute good. Are you sure?
Does this look unsure to you?
As you can see right here, this shot is from Just One Bite, and it's known as the unsure Squidward meme. Fans will recognize this face not only from the episode, but from the internet. Like, you've probably seen this meme before. But seeing it framed in Squidward's house in-game is really cool, and the developers likely included this as a tongue-in-cheek homage to one of Squidward's most iconic scenes. But the game's attention to detail continues in SpongeBob's bedroom, as if we look under Gary's food bowl right here, there's actually a newspaper partially peeking out. It's labeled Town Scared, which is actually a reference. This is the same fictional newspaper seen at the end of the episode Pranks-A-Lot. In that episode, the season 3 finale of SpongeBob and Patrick read this after terrorizing Bikini Bottom with their invisibility spray. The headline reads, "Town Scared as Ghosts Attack," as a result of their pranks, where they use the invisible spray and they look invisible and then they prank people, as you can see in this clip right here. Well, in the Yellow Avenger, that very same newspaper clipping is hidden under Gary's bowl, but it implies SpongeBob kept a souvenir of that ghostly adventure. And we're still not done yet. Another nod comes in SpongeBob's newfound powers. With Mermaid Man's belt, SpongeBob can shoot water balls in the game, essentially globes of water that he hurls at enemies. And this ability is a direct reference to the water balls used to throw in the TV show. For example, in the first Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy episode from season 1, and I'm still not done yet. Beyond those highlights, the game's trivia list is busting with other references. For example, the Sea Needle location is explorable, the same one from the episode pre-hibernation week. Bubble Bats and Flats the Flounder were mentioned as cut content, so they didn't make it into the game, but they were planned. But more interestingly, when you complete the game, it unlocks a character viewer that includes even more obscure characters, and a adorable touch, as if you idle for too long, SpongeBob will explain to the player how to make jellyfish jelly. So yeah, lots of cool stuff in this game, man. I really recommend recommend giving it a play. To be fair though, it's a PSP game, so it's gonna be very dated, but I think SpongeBob should play into the whole superhero thing more often. Like even for the next SpongeBob movie, they should do something where they all adapt their superhero personas, like the Quickster, Misappear, etc. But yeah, let's head into another episode. The season 8 episode, Move It or Lose It from 2012, presents a high-stakes premise. Bikini Bottom passes a law that 2 restaurants cannot operate within 100 feet of each other. Well, unfortunately for Mr. Krabs and Plankton, the Krusty Krab and the Chum Bucket sit a mere 99 feet apart.
So, which one of us is gonna get bulldozed?
That's for you two to decide.
I'm not going anywhere. You're the one who's moving.
You are moving!
Oh, no.
You have 24 hours to decide which of you moves.
This absurd dilemma, one of the few Krabs vs. Plankton showdowns not centered on the Krabby Patty secret formula, drives the rivals into a frenzy, with each trying to save their own restaurant and one-up each other. Like, they really get committed to this, and you can't blame them. You know, they don't want their restaurants to get shut down. Though, I'm sorry, Plankton, I don't think people would even notice if the Chum Bucket got shut down. You don't got no customers. I love you though, Plankton. As SpongeBob scrambles to collect petition signatures to save the Krusty Krab, the animators sneak in some clever in-jokes amid the chaos. When Plankton gets desperate and resorts to paying folks to sign his petition, there's a close-up of the signature sheet right here, and sharp-eyed viewers may notice that if you read the names on Plankton's petition, they're not random at all. They are, in fact, the names of SpongeBob's real-life production crew members. For example, you'll spot signatures like Steven Hillenburg, SpongeBob's creator, rest in peace the GOAT, Vincent Waller, a longtime writer and producer, and other names scribbled among the list. This Easter egg doesn't affect the story, but it's a delightful treat for nerds like me. Just like all the other Easter eggs here, you know, some of them are kind of minor, like this one, but I want to mention every single Easter egg that I can find, alright? Cartoon Corey's the Easter Egg Hunter. The Patrick Star Show episode, Stair Wars, is a standout episode of the Patrick Star Show that begins innocently enough, then free falls into utter silliness. The premise, Patrick and Grandpat get into a stubborn standoff on the staircase of their house, each refusing to let the other pass.
I'm sorry, Grandpat, but Dad always told me.
Son, the best advice I could ever give you is never back down from a stare-off.
I told you that! That's my advice!
Now what starts out as a minor inconvenience escalates into an epic, over-dramatic war spanning the entire episode, complete with battle montages and war cries, all over a staircase. Well, admit this over-the-top staircase duel, Stair Wars is jam-packed with references both to SpongeBob's wider franchise and to pop culture in general. Early in the episode, as Patrick slides up the impossibly long banister to charge at Grandpat, a train suddenly whooshes through the scene. It's a quick gag. The Star Family home seems to have a full locomotive running through it. But if we pay close attention, there's a marquee that says its destination, that being Camp Coral. For those in the know, this is a delightful nod to Camp Coral, another SpongeBob spin-off that honestly is kind of overhated. Camp Coral's not that bad. This is a fun little bit of self-promotion. But more importantly, what's really cool about this is it connects everything together. SpongeBob has really been trying to expand the universe in the most recent years, where they've introduced these spin-offs and spin-off movies where Plankton has his own movie, Sandy has her own movie, Patrick has his own show, and then there's Camp Coral. So stuff like this shows that the world is connected and that it all comes together, and I love that. Now on top of Easter eggs like that connect the world together, we also have a nostalgic character cameo in this episode. This right here is Mr. Sun, the smiling, alive sun that SpongeBob famously serenaded in the classic Best Day Ever song. He looks like this. He's had many different designs over the years, but what makes this a reference is this design right here, the one that we seen in Best Day Ever. Well, in Stair Wars, Mr. Sun appears with the exact same design, making for a cool reference as we haven't seen this design in years. This was his first appearance in the Patrick Star Show, and indeed a rare appearance in the franchise overall. The episode begins with the Sun waking up groggily at dawn, pouring a cup of coffee from the Star family's kitchen, and perking up for the day. And this is a direct visual reference to Best Day Ever, where the Sun was personified as a part of SpongeBob's morning routine. Now again, I know it's very annoying, guys, but I'm gonna remind you one more time and then I'll shut up, but please subscribe, guys. I'm really trying to hit 10K, and I'm very thankful for everybody who subscribed already, just saying. I'm very thankful, but please hit that subscribe button. I use no AI, and I'm one of the only non-AI channels on YouTube. Like 90% of the other like sleep SpongeBob channels, guys, like Cartoonology, they literally use AI, whereas I'm a real person. But yeah, I love you guys, and here's more Easter eggs. Our next episode, Squid Noir, drops us into a stylistic mystery in which Squidward turns detective, literally, to find his missing clarinet. And along the way, it dishes out some delicious cameos for observant fans. The episode opens at the Krusty Krab, with Squidward's jazz performance annoying everyone. Now, you may have missed it, but if you look at the crowd throughout the Krusty Krab, there's a rare character here. None other than Flats the Flounder, the bully from the Season 3 episode titled, well, The Bully.
Tell the class something about yourself, Flats.
Well, I like to kick people's butts.
Flats really has not been seen in ages, aside from a brief miscolored cameo at a party. Pretty sure this happens at the end of the episode, The Slumber Party. You can see him right here, miscolored. But aside from that, we haven't seen him since his original episode, pretty much. And I also love the fact that he's kind of like a background character. It's not like one of those Easter eggs where it's right up in your face. It's kind of subtle. And these types of things like expand the world of SpongeBob to me, because it shows that, you know, Flats the Flounder is like a regular Bikini Bottom citizen. He wasn't just exclusive to that one episode, but I'm rambling. Nerd Corey's coming out here. Can you guys tell that I really like SpongeBob? But back to the episode, when Squidward's beloved clarinet does vanish and the world turns black and white, a really cool effect by the way, the hunt for clues leads our heroes to a local comic book shop. Here, the animators pack the scene with inside references. For example, look closely at the shop's merchandise, and you'll spot action figures of several obscure characters. For example, the moth right here from the episode Nightlight. Nightlight is a random episode, and the moth is like a character who only appeared in that episode like one time.
Another thing. What the?
Even the background art of this scene gets playful. On the table, there's a gaming dice that features a staircase-shaped symbol, almost identical to the escalator icon from the board game Eels and Escalators. That board game appeared in Sailor Mouth, obviously, where SpongeBob and Patrick rolled dice marked with little eels and escalators instead of numbers. If we put them side by side, the die in Squid Noir has the same stylized stairs. However, the other symbol is different, I'll admit, so I don't know. But you guys know what I'm talking about here and see it. The stair or escalator icon is like identical. You know, it's probably possible that the prop designers of this episode reused the Eels and Escalators design for a generic comic shop dice asset, but who knows? In Camp SpongeBob, a Camp Coral episode set during SpongeBob's summer at camp as a kid, SpongeBob finds himself accidentally left all alone at Camp Coral. Rather than mope, our favorite sponge turns the deserted grounds into Camp SpongeBob, making the best of solitude. That is, until some friendly critters join him. This episode carries a breezy, zany tone, but it still sneaks in references bridging back to the main series. For instance, in one early scene, Patrick thinks he's chatting with SpongeBob, only to realize that he's been chatting to a box of Kelpo cereal.
I got mine, buddy! You're awfully quiet today, SpongeBob.
As you can see, Patrick is holding a yellow Kelpo's cereal box and actually thinks that it's SpongeBob. This absurd gag is actually a clever nod to the episode as seen on TV. And that classic season 3 episode, SpongeBob appears briefly in a Krusty Krab commercial, and later an elderly fish mistakes him for a box of Bran Flakes cereal. This also happens in a bunch of other episodes where SpongeBob has literally been mistaken for Kelpos before in particular. But back to the episode. Left to his own devices, SpongeBob soon attracts a large audience of forest animals to Camp SpongeBob, including sea bunnies, a sea serpent, and even a few wild clams.
Oh, hello! Would you like to join Camp SpongeBob? It's free for sea bunnies.
In a particularly charming sequence, two sea bunnies blow bubbles together for fun. They end up blowing a giant bubble in the shape of SpongeBob himself, which floats above them. As if on cue, an instrumental of the SpongeBob SquarePants theme song kicks in, just as the SpongeBob-shaped bubble pops in the air.
Ooh, who's that handsome fellow? My eyes!
It's a meta moment that breaks the fourth wall musically, with the characters literally inside the show acknowledging the theme song of the show. Throughout the episode, SpongeBob's camp adventures carry echoes of the main series. At one point, Patrick returns, having realized SpongeBob was left behind, and joins the fun, only to be trampled by a herd of meeping anchovies at the camp. This flows directly into the next Camp Coral episode. But even here, one could potentially say this was a callback, but I don't know. I mean, seeing anchovies swarm transforming somebody while saying their trademark meep is always going to be reminiscent of Help Wanted, the first ever SpongeBob episode. More specifically, this scene right here.
Anchovies!
But I don't know, guys. I don't know if this is necessarily a reference. This is one where the SpongeBob wiki says that it's an Easter egg, but I don't fully agree, but I'm gonna include it anyways. However, I do agree with this next one. There's one moment in this scene where we see a bunch of clams acting very strangely, and we see Patrick observing them. And at one point, he makes this face right here. Now, if I do a side-by-side, this face is very similar to this scene from the episode Face Freeze.
How about an eye cross? And then
In this episode, SpongeBob and Patrick get addicted to making all of these strange comedic faces. However, it backfires when their faces freeze and don't go back to normal. Honestly, a really weird plot, but not a bad episode. It seems that even as a kid, Patrick had face freeze at times, I guess, huh? I mean, look at a side-by-side and that face is very similar, but it could also be a case of like the art team reusing a reference shot or something. I don't know. I'm just presenting all the facts, trivia, and Easter eggs to you guys, because I'm a nerd. Now, I will admit some of the Easter eggs and facts and stuff in this past episode, some of them were kind of reaching, but this next episode has a lot of really good stuff. Our next episode is Sanitation Insanity. In this episode, Mr. Krabs' penny-pinching ways lands the Krusty Krab in trouble with the law, forcing him, or rather Squidward and SpongeBob, to clean all of Bikini Bottom's trash. Now, we're gonna get into the Easter eggs and trivia, of course, but I gotta be honest with you, Mr. Krabs is definitely in the wrong here. I mean, look at just how nasty the Krusty Krab is in the start of this episode.
Get in the bed! Filthy trash! Trash juice!
Hey, maybe we should use another garbage bag, Mr. Krabs. This one's kind of full.
forget it, boyo. I'm not paying for another garbage bag.
You know, I used to fantasize about being able to try a real Krabby Patty, not like a fast food collab version, but a real one from the Krusty Krab. But after this episode, I'm good, I don't want one. But anyways, what starts off as a riff on Keep Bikini Bottom Beautiful, another littering themed episode, quickly turns into a chaotic adventure with a garbage truck mech. Along the way, Sanitation Insanity crams in nods to past SpongeBob episodes and broader pop culture overall. For example, early in the cleanup, SpongeBob uses his porous nature to his advantage.
Oh, all this fresh air feels great in my holes.
Now, if that sight and that sound feel familiar, it's because it's deliberately a reference to the episode Spongehenge, where wind blowing through SpongeBob's holes produced music that attracted jellyfish. This clip from Sanitation Insanity is also a callback to another older episode, Earworm, where SpongeBob's body became an instrument for a catchy song.
Keep your trap shut. But it wasn't my trap!
In fact, the brief melody SpongeBob whistles here in Sanitation Insanity is actually a familiar song, and you guys should already know. I mean, come on, it's the SpongeBob theme song itself. But as the trash collection escalates, the garbage truck SpongeBob and Squidward use actually transforms into like a full-on robotic transformer, sprouting arms and legs in parody of Transformers. This was confirmed by the production team. It's really cool. I mean, even the transformation sequence is a nod to Transformers. And supposedly, according to the team, it's also meant to be a reference to the Megazords from Power Rangers. I gotta say, seeing a mundane garbage truck become a literal robot battle monster is really cool. And there's more going on here. During the Robo Rampage, the show slips in a cameo that made any veteran fan cheer, including me. I'm a nerd and I was very happy. As the garbage bot smashes through various locations, one scene shows a shady-looking used boat dealership. And if you look closely, there's a familiar character here. If you guys didn't recognize him, the salesman right here is actually the same con man fish from Chocolate with Nuts. This character, also known as Incidental 118C, is famous for swindling SpongeBob and Patrick by faking an injury in that season 3 episode.
No self-respecting candy bar salesman would be caught dead without one of these. It's a candy bar bag, you knucklehead. suckers.
Well, in Sanitation Insanity, he appears in New Griff, selling boatmobiles to an unsuspecting customer named Carl, only to have SpongeBob's runaway trash truck demolish his entire inventory. It's a perfect little Easter egg reimagining the conman as a sleazy used car or boat salesman, which is actually like spot on for his character. The Patrick Star Show spinoff is essentially a mini sketch comedy showcase, but it doesn't skimp out on SpongeBob references, Easter eggs, and meta humor. In Late for Breakfast, Patrick misses his family's breakfast and scrambles to fill his belly and airtime by hosting a cooking segment on his makeshift variety show.
Cook at 1,000 degrees for 1 second. It's ready!
Now, this whole sequence is a goldmine of Easter eggs and sly nods. As Patrick raids the house for ingredients, he tosses just about anything into his casserole, if that's what you want to call it, including a pair of delicious, I'm sure they would taste great, right? These right here, dirty sneakers. Longtime SpongeBob fans will recognize those beat up black high top sneakers, as they look identical to the shoes Plankton gave SpongeBob as part of his elaborate plan 20 years ago, like 20 plus years ago. Welcome to the Chum Bucket.
Wow!
So now do you have everything you need to make some Krabby Patties?
Well...
So seeing them here is really, really cool. Now, I will say this is most likely just a fun prop reuse by the artists, but it could also have been an intentional Easter egg. And if so, you know, props to the team, because this is a cool one. But if we keep it moving, as Patrick's chaotic cooking continues, with him adding stinky socks and used napkins, delicious, his little sister Squidina encourages him to work with what he's got. Eventually, Patrick cooks the monstrosity at 1,000 degrees for 1 second. But more importantly, the real Easter eggs come when the casserole is done, and Patrick's show rules its credit sequence. In universe, these are fake vanity credits for Patrick's imaginary production crew. Like, as you guys know, a big element of the Patrick Star Show is that it's like a show within a show. But back to the point, every name on this scrolling fake credits right here is a pun on a real SpongeBob production staff member. For example, the credits list Mark C. I'm not gonna try and say his last name, but this is actually a spoof of a real person, executive producer Mark C. And I'm not gonna try and say his last name again, but here's both names side by side, and you can see this is intentional. There's also Vincent Walla, clearly referencing SpongeBob veteran Vincent Waller. Andy Badman stands in for writer Andrew Goodman. That one's actually funny. Louis K. Shire for writer Look Brookshire. And there's a couple of more, but you guys get the point. Another interesting Easter egg from this episode is a specific line that Patrick sings. Take a look at this clip and it might be familiar to you guys. Like I said, you may have heard that before, and it's because this is like a classic gag for Patrick. He said the same line back in the episode Shanghai from season 3, right here. And he also says a similar thing in the episode You Don't Know Sponge. If we fast forward to this scene right here, and I'll play the clip.
Oh, it's Patrick!
Sharks vs. Pods from season 10 is an episode that wears its inspiration on its sleeve. A loving parody of West Side Story in 1950s greaser culture, while also digging into SpongeBob's own archives for some seriously cool callbacks. The premise finds SpongeBob falling in with a tough street crew of sharks, only to face off against a rival group of pods, cephalopods by the way, which is pretty much what Squidward is, and surprise, surprise, the leader of the pods is Squidward. Now, the title itself is actually riffing on the famous Sharks vs. Jets rivalry from the iconic film West Side Story, and originally, the episode was even stated to be titled Swimming with Sharks. But beyond the musical theater nods, this story deep dives into SpongeBob lore, and I know that's what you guys actually want here, so let's get into that. Early in the episode, as SpongeBob gets swept up in the shark's world, we catch a glimpse of his home decorated with a very meaningful keepsake.
I'll have to go into the witness protection program. I'll have to quit working at the Krusty Krab. I'll never flip a succulent Krabby Patty ever again. Oh, what have I done?
You guys may have missed it, but on the wall right here is a framed picture of the hydrodynamic spatula, the same one we talked about earlier in this video, the one he acquired back in Help Wanted. I love how SpongeBob's proudly displaying it like a trophy, and I'm sure back in Delivery of Doom, he had to take it out of retirement because we see him using it again there, right? A few moments later, as SpongeBob prepares for a climatic dance, there's still a couple more Easter eggs in this episode though, so let's keep it going. As SpongeBob later prepares for a climatic dance showdown with the Pods to rescue his kidnapped pet snail Gary, he gears up in his garage, and in the background there's another gem for observant fans.
I have to go to the showdown!
I have to get ready to fight.
I'm sure you guys caught this one, but SpongeBob's old license plate right here reads, "I'm ready." And this is a reference. I mean, this plate right here sounding out "I'm ready" was originally seen on SpongeBob's first boatmobile all the way back in season 3's No Free Rides. In that episode, Mrs. Puff awarded him a fake license and a paddy wagon. And as you can see here, it's pretty much the same license plate, although there is a little bit of a coloring change here. Moments like this show some crew members' dedication to continuity. SpongeBob saving sentimental scraps from old adventures, which adds a lot of personality to the world. Moving on though, one of the episode's most exciting surprises is the reappearance of Reg, the burly bouncer from the classic season 3 episode No Weenies Allowed. Reg originally stood guard at the Salty Spittoon, denying SpongeBob entry for not being tough enough.
How tough am I? How tough am I? I had a bowl of nails for breakfast this morning.
Yes, so?
Without any milk.
Right this way.
Reg returns in a similar capacity, at a Fight Club-like dance arena. Longtime viewers will immediately recognize his shaved head, sunglasses, and tattoo that famously said "Mom."
How tough am I?
Wow.
You may notice something different about it this time, as it's colored blue instead of its original red. Here's a side-by-side of Reg from No Weenies Allowed and Reg in this episode, and I don't know why they changed the color of the tattoo. Maybe this was an animator's way of sneaking this rare character into the episode, who knows. Regardless of the tattoo color though, seeing Reg again in any form is a treat. He was one of those one-off characters fans always remember, so it's cool to see him popping up again. And let's keep it going with more Easter eggs from this episode. Once the titular sharks and Pods face off, the episode turns into a full-blown musical dance battle. The animators and writers seize this opportunity to reference one of SpongeBob's most beloved musical moments, Squidward's talent show dance from the iconic episode Culture Shock. During the showdown, the Pods do one dance that is very drinking water.
Thirsty?
It's no use. We'll never find the rare desert sandwich.
Our timeout recreates this gag with their younger selves, right down to Patrick's satisfied gulp and SpongeBob's dizzy reaction. Really cool stuff, and yeah, that's it for that episode. Set in the Camp Coral spin-off series, Squizzery is a campfire side adventure that teams up a young Squidward and Patrick. The title itself hints at a parody. It's a riff on the Stephen King story, Misery. Fittingly, Squidward breaks his ankles and is stuck being cared for by Patrick, which is very similar to the Stephen King story itself. But don't worry, we're not going to be talking about that boring stuff. The episode strands Squidward and Patrick in the woods, forcing the unlikely pair to survive together overnight.
Your legs look funny. Are you okay?
Of course I'm not okay. Look at me. My ankles are more twisted than a pretzel.
This prequel setting allows for some playful continuity twists and Easter eggs that cross-reference the main SpongeBob timeline. For example, one early gag in this episode quietly contradicts a beloved classic episode. Patrick is distracted by a boot and ends up tying up this boot.
Patrick!
Sorry again, Mr. Tentacles. Just tying my shoe. Ready!
Now, this is kind of a problem, guys, as if we rewind back to the iconic SpongeBob episode, Your Shoes Untied, there's something from that episode that the writer of Squizzery clearly missed. In that season 2 episode, neither SpongeBob nor Patrick knew how to tie their shoes at all. It's like the main plot point. I know that it is technically an alternate universe, as I established earlier, but it's still technically a prequel, so it's just very weird that Patrick in the prequel knows how to tie his shoes, but then doesn't know how to tie his shoes in the regular SpongeBob show. This was likely just a fun oversight, but for me personally, I can't imagine Patrick forgetting how to tie his shoes by adulthood. But anyways, let's get to the Easter eggs and references. Those are more interesting, as there are also hints of Patrick's future living situation. While stranded and needing a place to stay, Patrick cobbles together a shelter made out of wooden planks that's shaped exactly like his iconic rock home.
Check it out! I built us a rock!
You built a rock
Uh-huh.
out of logs,
Yep,
right next to an actual rock.
correct.
This is a really cool bit of continuity and a cool reference to the original SpongeBob show. But keeping it moving, meanwhile, Squidward's misery in the woods gives rise to a brilliant pop culture reference. As Patrick cheerfully prevents Squidward from escaping, for Squidward's own good, of course, according to Patrick, Patrick responds to Squidward's orders with a deadpan line that may be familiar to some nerds out there.
Just leave me alone!
I'm afraid I can't do that, Mr. Tentacles. Until you're all better, I'm going to do everything for you. See?
This is actually a direct parody of Hal 9000's famous line, where he says the following.
Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
So yeah, this is a reference to 2001: A Space Odyssey, a really cool reference for sci-fi fans. But visually, Squizzery keeps the Easter eggs coming. We're not done yet. At one point, a completely out-of-place landmark appears during Squidward and Patrick's trek back to camp. The Brooklyn Bridge can be glimpsed in the background right over here. It's a surreal blink-and-you'll-miss-it detail, implying the camp might be nearer to the surface world than we thought. But more likely, it's just a funny gag. Once the pair finally return to Camp Coral at sunrise, with Squidward tied to Patrick's back, they stumble into the boys' cabin. And this is where we can find some more Easter eggs, but we need to keep our eyes peeled, okay? For a split second, we can see SpongeBob inside reading this Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy comic book, which makes perfect sense in this timeline. Of course, young SpongeBob would be a huge fan of superheroes, especially the Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy series. And there's a few more things here, alright? When everybody leaves and Squidward and Patrick dance, we can see the camper rules list right here, and one amusing rule reads, all jazz must be smooth. This is also a reference. It's a wink to the SpongeBob episode Smooth Jazz at Bikini Bottom, the episode where Squidward obsesses over smooth jazz legend Kelpie G.
So nice to be surrounded by such kindred spirits.
You can say that again. It's a rare treat to mingle with true diehard smooth jazzes.
Is that a lady. I've been a diehard since 10 this morning.
Clearly, even as a kid, Squidward is already enforcing jazz standards in their shared space, with him demanding that any jazz in his dorm must be smooth. Very funny. In today's video, we're going to be talking about a ton of SpongeBob Easter eggs, facts, and trivia. Easter eggs like this, which reference old school episodes like this. Now I'm going to shut up and get into it, but really quick, guys, I'm one of the only non-AI SpongeBob sleep channels on YouTube right now. Like, I'm a real person. This is a real voice. And a lot of those other channels that are doing this content are AI. So if you're enjoying my content, please subscribe. I know you want to go to sleep, but if you end up enjoying this video, please hit that subscribe button. Anyways, let's get into it. The episode Teacher's Pests from season 11 has a ton of Easter eggs. In this boating school episode, Mr. Krabs and Plankton are forced to attend Mrs. Puff's class alongside their favorite person, SpongeBob, after a road rage incident. The premise sets up plenty of nods to past SpongeBob lore, so let's get into that, as I know that's what you guys clicked on the video for. Early on, Mrs. Puff shows an instructional boating safety video that pretty much gives tips and is a guide on how to drive a boat. And if this seems familiar to you, it's because this entire tutorial video is very similar to another video we got in another episode, season 5's Boat Smarts. That entire episode, Boat Smarts, is about Mrs. Puff hosting a boating safety documentary that stars SpongeBob and Squidward. So it might not be a direct reference here, but they're very similar. They have the same like vignette effect on, and it's really cool. But if we keep it moving, there's even more Easter eggs. When class begins, SpongeBob excitedly introduces something special, with him explaining how students earn gold star stickers for good behavior.
Did you know that every time you do something good, Mrs. Puff gives you a star sticker?
Stickers? I'm an adult. I don't care about stickers.
If you're a true SpongeBob fan, then you know that this is a direct callback to the iconic episode, New Student Starfish, where SpongeBob was the star pupil with a whopping 74 stars to his name across the episode.
And those drinks are recorded here, on the Good Noodle Board.
Oh, sorry.
In a funny bit of continuity error, here, SpongeBob has 0 stars on the board. But to be fair, this might be good continuity. It might be because it's been so many years since New Student Starfish. Maybe the board got reset. Plus, there's still boating school episodes, but we don't see SpongeBob in boating school like we used to, so maybe that's why. But nonetheless, SpongeBob has 0 stars in this episode, despite having a bunch back in New Student Starfish. But yeah, let's keep it moving. Mr. Krabs and Plankton become immediately obsessed with this reward system and begin competing by showering Mrs. Puff with fruit to earn stars.
Oh, is someone hungry? Ta-da!
Ooh, a grapefruit.
How about some melon?
Mrs. Puff soon realizes that they're bribing for stickers and snaps, exclaiming, "None of you will get any stars," effectively ending the contest. But this rivalry escalates through the driving test, leading to a chaotic finale. Notably, SpongeBob himself drives perfectly fine during the test, which is actually really weird considering the fact that SpongeBob is like unteachable. As you guys know, there have been so many gags throughout the show where SpongeBob just cannot drive. And he's tried, but he's just not very good at it. But yeah, I wanted to point this out because this is a really funny inconsistency. But let's get back to the Easter eggs, as there's a ton during the mayhem. When Mrs. Puff has had enough of Mr. Krabs and Plankton's antics, she uproots an entire apple tree and whacks them with it, shouting a very specific line.
You want stars? I'll give you stars.
So this one's really weird, but this line is actually a sneaky reference to the video game Resident Evil 3 Nemesis, in which protagonist Jill Valentine says the exact same phrase before defeating the final boss.
You want stars? I'll give you stars.
This is a very surprising deep cut, an M-rated game quote tucked into a SpongeBob episode. But hey, it suits Mrs. Puff like pretty well considering she's a crazy character. I guess whoever wrote this episode, or somebody on the art team, or just somebody is a fan of Resident Evil and found a way to sneak it in. They were probably in the middle of a Resident Evil 3 playthrough and were like, I'm just gonna find a way to put this in SpongeBob. The scene even shows cartoon stars circling the dazed Plankton's head. Teacher's Pet also plays with long-term continuity, but they also made made a little bit of a mistake. Weirdly enough, Mr. Krabs and Mrs. Puff act like complete strangers in this classroom setting, despite having met and fallen in love back in Krusty Love, and having dated for 16 years as of the episode Whirly Brains.
Mrs. Puff, we've been dating for 16 years now, so I was sincerely hoping that today might finally be the day that...
Yes, Eugene?
Can I steal a little kiss?
There's no on-screen explanation for this memory lapse, and was most likely an oversight by newer writers, who maybe didn't know this bit of SpongeBob lore, but hey, I'm an old school fan and I could not help but notice. The episode is packed with visual callbacks as well. In the background is a very familiar billboard. This right here is the Barnacle Chips billboard, representing the cholesterol-free snack from the iconic episode Chocolate with Nuts, which is where this billboard made its first appearance.
Eat barnacle chips, they're delicious.
They are most certainly not delicious.
Not the way I use them.
This exact same billboard also appeared in a later episode, Burst Your Bubble.
You got on the freeway by mistake!
So its inclusion here, making a third appearance, is a clear wink from the staff to eagle-eyed viewers like myself. This isn't just like a random billboard, I want to make this clear. This is 100% an Easter egg or reference from the production team, and it's really cool. But later, when a driving mishap fuses SpongeBob, Plankton, and Mr. Krabs into one grotesque body, Plankton ends up occupying one of Mr. Krabs' eye sockets.
Mr. Plankton, you were in a horrible boat accident. It's a miracle that you're alive. However, there were some complications.
Hey, what's all the screaming up there? Forget class. Now we can be together forever.
And this might not be a direct reference, but it's a bizarre sight that's directly reminiscent of a gag in another episode. The episode being The Other Patty, where the two rival restaurateurs also combined into a single being. It's an obscure reference, but side by side, as you can see here, the scenes are very, very close. Finally though, this episode actually had a scene that didn't make it into the final airing, or even just the final version of the episode at all, a deleted scene, where during the last session, SpongeBob unknowingly runs over a line of fake pedestrian cutouts on the test track. I actually was able to find the clip that was cut because Cartoon Corey goes so hard for you guys, and I mean also shout out to the SpongeBob wiki. And yeah, this moment isn't necessarily that dark, but it seems that it was later deemed too edgy for modern SpongeBob, and thus was removed from the episode, which honestly is actually a telling sign of changing standards. In earlier seasons of SpongeBob, a throwaway gag like this definitely would have flown under the radar. Like if you think of SpongeBob seasons 1, 2, and 3, there are tons of jokes like this in those episodes. But it seems that today, Nickelodeon is playing it a little more safe. However, if we go back in time, there are still some gags from earlier SpongeBob that were too inappropriate. And this brings us to our next episode, Just One Bite from season 3. This classic episode centers on Squidward's secret love for Krabby Patties, where basically he acts like he hates them, but once he tries one and takes like the smallest bite you could humanly take, yeah, that was the smallest bite ever. But after this, Squidward becomes addicted to Krabby Patties. And this episode, Just One Bite, is actually famous amongst fans for a scene that vanished after its original airing. This is another deleted scene. The deleted scene in question occurs during Squidward's midnight break-in. In the uncut version, shown only during the Totally Twisted telly premiere back in 2001, Mr. Krabs had set up a booby trap in the Krusty Krab for intruders to prevent people from breaking in when the stores close. But instead of a regular alarm system, he does something pretty crazy. Squidward sneaks through the door only to have a bucket of gasoline tip over and drench him. And what happens next is pretty crazy considering this is a kid's show.
Hey, this isn't water. This is gas.
This over-the-top trap, a bucket of gas, and a robot arm is oddly high-tech for Mr. Krabs, just saying, who usually isn't very tech-savvy, but it certainly shows the lengths that Mr. Krabs would go to protect his secret formula. But here's where the controversy comes in. By early 2002, Nickelodeon removed this gasoline trap scene from all reruns and future releases. They just cut that chunk out of the episode pretty much, so it just jumps. And also, I want to point out, if you're from Canada, this didn't actually happen overseas or in Canada, and let me explain why. You know, I try to keep my content as accessible as possible. That way kids can watch it, and people my age, older people who grew up with the show, can also enjoy these videos. So just a heads up, this part is controversial, but it's also educational as well, I guess. As eventually, the official reason for this scene being cut came out later. The reason it was cut was in part out of sensitivity due to the episode airing shortly after 9/11, and largely due to standards and practices concerns about kids potentially imitating the dangerous gag with matches and fuel. And this isn't just speculation. Writer Jay Lender confirmed that even though the scene initially passed Nickelodeon's censors, the network reconsidered after the September 2001 attacks. But yeah, like I said, if you're a Canadian boy like me, that's why you remember seeing this scene still, as Canadian airings on YTV still kept the scene in. But yeah, there's a little fun fact for you guys. I know that wasn't necessarily an Easter egg, but in these videos, I'm probably going to start covering trivia and facts as well, and you gotta admit that was interesting. Now, I'm gonna move over to another episode and I'm gonna stop rambling, but if you're still awake, I'm gonna ask one more time, can you guys please subscribe? I'm like the only non-AI SpongeBob sleep channel right now on YouTube. All these other sleep channels, guys, are AI, and I'd really appreciate your subscription. I'm trying to hit 10K, and just, yeah, I put a lot of love into these videos, so if you're enjoying them, please, like, you know, I know you're trying to sleep, grab your phone and click subscribe. Anyways, I'm gonna be quiet and let's get back to the video. The episode Bunny Hunt is a later season gem loaded with background Easter eggs and continuity nods, all wrapped in a silly plot about a wild sea bunny infestation. The episode finds Squidward's garden overrun by a cute but destructive sea bunny named Bunny Wunny, leading to ever-escalating chaos. Like, this bunny is a troublemaker. But let's get into the Easter eggs, as longtime viewers will recognize Squidward's backyard setting from an earlier episode. At the climax, dozens of bunnies swarm and even pop out of a wooden shed behind Squidward's house. And it might just seem like some random shed, but that shed is a blink and you'll miss it reference to another episode, The Curse of Bikini Bottom from season 7. In that episode, a shed randomly appeared in Squidward's yard for a gag.
Let's go look for something to do in Old Man Squidward's shed!
But it isn't actually a part of Squidward's like actual house layout. If we look at other episodes and we see his backyard, the shed isn't there. So its reappearance here years later is a delightful continuity nod for fans who remember the one-off structure. The interiors of SpongeBob's pineapple in this episode are also a treasure trove of callbacks. When SpongeBob temporarily adopts the Sea Bunny, we see his living room shelves decorated with familiar mementos. Notably, this ball right here, which is Gary's toy ball, which is actually from an episode, Gary's New Toy.
Okay, that's just creepy. Gary, I think you need to spend some time away from this ball. This isn't helping your case.
It's right here on the shelf, making for a cool reference. Here's a side-by-side. And nearby is SpongeBob's ukulele from the classic Fun Song and the episode of the same name. SpongeBob even has a framed photo of a baby Gary the Snail. However, this little touch actually created a little bit of a continuity puzzle. I mean, how would SpongeBob have a baby picture of Gary if, according to the new canon, he met Gary as a kid at Camp Coral? We've talked about this before, but let me clarify, as Nickelodeon has ultimately confirmed that Camp Coral exists in an alternate timeline from the main series. In other words, the main SpongeBob from the core SpongeBob universe likely raised Gary from a young age, hence the baby photo here, whereas Camp Coral is a separate take on their origin. It's interesting stuff, but just wanted to clarify it. But let's keep it moving because there's a lot of references in this episode. Even if we pop over to Squidward's house, as hanging on his wall is a painting that spoofs another famous painting called The Scream, created by Edvard Munch. I hope I said it correctly. I'm sorry, Edvard Munch, if I said your name wrong. Just this time, as you guys can see, it has a more Squidward touch to it. Here's a side-by-side. Even more surprising, though, is the cameo of an extremely obscure character. This human supervillain with a clam on his head appeared once in the very first Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy episode, back in 1999.
Oh no! The raging whirlpool!
But after an 18-year absence, he actually shows up again in this episode, on a comic book cover that SpongeBob shields from Bunny Wunny's destruction. It's a blink and you'll miss it detail, but a really cool one that's also pretty rewarding to fans that know their SpongeBob lore. I mean, clearly some of the SpongeBob staff are just as obsessed with SpongeBob lore as I am, as Clamhead Candy Cat's inclusion, however brief, acknowledges the depth of the Mermaid Man universe, and is a treat for any of the nerds out there that remember all of the different villains from SpongeBob. But Bunny Hunt doesn't just reference SpongeBob's past, it throws in a bit of real-world culture too. Squidward, ever the sophisticated squid, drops a couple of French phrases during this episode, and if you were ever wondering what he said, I got you covered. At one point he exclaims, when speaking to a wooden dummy, a mild old-fashioned French curse equivalent to the word damn it. Later, during a melodramatic funeral for his garden, Squidward sighs, c'est la vie, meaning that's life in French. Some more fun facts for you guys right there, and I guess it's canon that Squidward can speak French, which is kind of fitting to his character. It's also kind of a smart way to sneak in a swear. Damn it is kind of like an edgy word, and you don't see a lot of characters from kid shows saying it, so it being in French was a way for Nickelodeon to sneak it in. At least that's my theory. A game theory. And let's head over to another episode. In the episode Delivery of Doom, SpongeBob is challenged to deliver a Krusty Krab order to the League of Evil's secret lair in under 10 minutes, or else the villains get to eat for free, Mr. Krabs' worst nightmare. The episode opens with a charmingly low-tech Krusty Krab commercial that Mr. Krabs and SpongeBob film themselves, using a hollowed-out television and crayon-drawn backdrop.
You can let the Krusty Krab make and deliver your meal for you.
Longtime fans will recognize this as a homage to SpongeBob's puppet TV gag from Season 3's Can You Spare a Dime, where SpongeBob put on a similar DIY show to cheer up Squidward. Speaking of evil, notably, the entrance to their lair is still through a dumpster.
Secret entrance.
This right here is a reference, as it was portrayed the exact same way back in the episode Captain Pipsqueak when Plankton sought out the League of Evil.
The villains escape to their secret underground lair.
In fact, when Mr. Krabs literally cannon launches SpongeBob towards the delivery address, he lands in that very dumpster portal. The door inside the dumpster is a nether blast from the past, as it's modeled after the classic evil logo seen in Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy 5. From here though, SpongeBob's descent into the lair is filled with tons and tons of nostalgia. For one, as he free falls down Evil's secret chute, he whips out a very familiar spatula.
SpongeBob reached for his hydrodynamic spatula with port and starboard attachments.
This right here is another reference. This is SpongeBob's hydrodynamic spatula, the same high-tech spatula with port and starboard attachments that he first used in this clip from the very first SpongeBob episode ever, Help Wanted.
Did someone order a spatula?
Using the propeller spatula to slow his fall is both practical and a wink to fans remembering SpongeBob's fry cook initiation test. As remember, Mr. Krabs sent him to find this, not even knowing that this item existed. His goal was to have SpongeBob searching forever, that way he never has to see SpongeBob again.
We'll give you a test. Go out and fetch me a hydrodynamic spatula.
But back to Delivery of Doom. After landing, SpongeBob checks his watch, which is another really cool reference. This isn't the first time we've seen this item before. If we go back like 10 years ago, there was the episode Mermaid Man Begins, and this nifty piece of merchandise first appeared in that episode, when SpongeBob and Patrick donned all of their fanboy gear so that they could watch the first episode of Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy together.
And?
It's time. It's time. It's time to fight evil.
By equipping SpongeBob with these vintage accessories, the spatula and Mermaid Man watch, the episode equips him and us with a sense of old school SpongeBob nostalgia. And this will continue. This episode has so many Easter eggs, guys. Whoever wrote this episode definitely wanted to show off their knowledge of SpongeBob lore. Inside the lair, SpongeBob essentially navigates a villain-themed obstacle course, and each room brims with references. First, he faces a familiar face. Well, maybe not so familiar, as this character is actually really rare. First up is Jumbo Shrimp, with SpongeBob facing off with him in a wrestling ring.
Jumbo Shrimp, the biggest name in bad behavior.
Now here's the thing, the Easter egg here isn't necessarily Jumbo Shrimp. Like, Jumbo Shrimp is kind of an Easter egg because he's a rare character. It's like a callback to older episodes. But what makes this one really special is that Jumbo Shrimp had a major like character redesign in later episodes. When he first appeared, he looked like this like humanoid, ripped, jacked version of Jumbo Shrimp.
The atomic flounder and the dreaded Jumbo Shrimp.
As you just saw, he was just like a static cutout used for a gag. But later on, they did like a complete switch up and changed him to this like six-legged version of him that does arguably look more like a legitimate villain.
Citizen Captain Pipsqueak. Captain Pipsqueak.
There's a moment where the bunny's going through SpongeBob's house and is destroying everything. We've talked about this before, and we get this one shot of SpongeBob's comic book collection. And as you can see, each issue is numbered, so we know the order that each of these issues released in. And if you look, there's 3 issues with Jumbo Shrimp on them. In the first one, issue number 3, we can see that he's using his original design, the more humanoid, jacked, shrimp version without the mask or anything like that. Here's a side-by-side with the shot of him from Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy 2 and this comic book cover. But then this changes in issue number 5 where he's now wearing the mask and looks more evil, and then we get a full body shot of him in issue number 11. So my theory is that he started out looking like this, and then he started putting on the mask in the costume, which is what changed his design. This isn't canon, it's just a theory, but let's get back to this Easter egg because I just went off on like a whole mini tangent. The main point here is this is his more modern design, the redesign, and we haven't seen his original design for years. However, as you can imagine, this would change in Delivery of Doom.
You look bigger in the comics. Do you think you could sign this for me?
Oh, gladly.
So yeah, not only is it rare to even see this character, but it's the first time we've seen his original design in a while too. Speaking of bikini bottom superheroes and supervillains, we have another Easter egg related to this. In a similar vein, when SpongeBob shows Mr. Krabs the comic book he's brought along, closer to the start of the episode, we can see Miss appear on the cover of the comic book, and she's gone through a bit of a redesign. This time it's to resemble Sandy Cheeks' Broadway portrayal from the SpongeBob musical, with her being black and complete with a stylish afro. Miss Appear's look has actually evolved repeatedly over the years. For example, her initial cameo on a lunchbox in Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy 5 showed her with bright red hair, but then later in the Bad Guys Club for Supervillains, her design changed again, with her outfit changing subtly, but her hair changing to be black. So it's interesting to see a third redesign here. As SpongeBob continues the delivery, he next stumbles into a kitchen set guarded by the infamous Dirty Bubble.
You certainly did, you simple-minded sponge!
There's a really cool Easter egg here, as the close-up shot of this faucet dripping right here, specifically when the dirty bubble comes out of it, is a direct reproduction shot from a season 1 episode. If we go back to Squeaky Boots from, like I just said, season 1, Mr. Krabs is tormented by the repetitive squeak of SpongeBob's boots, leading to a surreal montage of sounds, where Mr. Krabs is like absolutely tweaking, like the dude is like going crazy. But more importantly, there's this random extreme close-up shot of a dripping faucet, which also nearly drives Mr. Krabs mad. It's a very weird scene, but over 20 years later, and we get a really cool reference. You know, it's the kind of blink and you miss it detail only diehard fans like myself would catch, and you need to see it side by side. You guys probably think I'm crazy, but as you can see right here, it's identical. I love Easter eggs like these ones, and I've got more. As when SpongeBob first enters the dirty bubble area of the lair, there's a certain photo on the wall that serves as a really cool Easter egg. This right here is called a recursive picture, a portrait that contains a smaller copy of itself that just repeats like forever within the picture. This is actually a running gag within SpongeBob's world that dates back to an old school episode like No Free Rides. There's also a recursive picture right here in this shot, a framed photo of Mrs. Puff at her door, included in the very same scene within itself. This also happened again with Mrs. Puff in the episode Potato Puff years later, with the artist slipping in another one of these cool little references. So it happening here in Delivery of Doom is like an intentional Easter egg. And dude, there's so many, there's even more. As this section of the episode continues, SpongeBob finds himself once again unintentionally besting the dirty bubble. Armed with his trusty pen, he innocently asks for an autograph, but he also ends up, like, killing it.
Ooh, can I get your autograph?
Oh, wait! Not again. Oh.
And this is where the reference comes in, as SpongeBob did the exact same thing like years ago in Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy 2.
Can I have your autograph?
What's the point now?
And guess what? There's even some continuity here. In Delivery of Doom, upon bursting, the dirty bubble even groans, not again, directly referencing the first time where SpongeBob's pencil popped him back in that Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy episode I just mentioned. Finally, for this episode though, and then we'll talk about another one, SpongeBob reaches Man Ray, the last villain and the leader of evil. With mere seconds left on the delivery clock, Man Ray isn't interested in letting SpongeBob succeed, so he stalls until the time runs out, robbing SpongeBob of a win.
Delivery complete!
Yes, but it was 1 second late.
From here, Man Ray reveals the League's dirty little secret. Evil is completely broke. They've lost all their money. To prove it, he holds up an empty wallet. Notably, it's one of Patrick's wallets from the episode Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy 3. The very same one from Patrick's Is This Your Wallet bit.
You've dropped your wallet.
Doesn't look familiar to me.
I just saw you drop it. Yeah.
Nope, it's not mine.
At the very end of the episode, as the hungry evildoers dig into their food, we're treated to a final buffet of callbacks. Among the items SpongeBob delivers are a crusty kids meal with the same box from the episode Mermaid Man vs. SpongeBob, as well as a Patty Pal toy, another callback to the episode Yours, Mine, and Mine. And with that, holy, I'm out of breath. We're finally done with that episode. That was a lot of Easter eggs, guys. Oh my gosh. Also, guys, I just want to say real quick, and I'm gonna get right back to the content, don't worry, but please subscribe, guys. I'm like one of the only non-AI SpongeBob channels right here. I put a lot of time into these videos confirming every Easter egg I talk about, and like it's just a lot of time and I love doing it. I'm very passionate about SpongeBob. I'm very passionate about SpongeBob. Let me correct my pronunciation. Just showing you I'm real. So please subscribe. And yeah, back to the video. Let's talk about more Easter eggs in another episode. Moving from Bikini Bottom to the bonkers world of the Patrick Star Show, the episode Patathon serves up Easter eggs in rapid fire. Here's the setup. Patrick is hosting a live telethon from his living room, aiming to raise money for snails who can't dance. Now, this variety-style show and this episode is framed as Patrick's wacky family putting on stunts and answering phones for charity. But despite being a spin-off, Patathon does not shy away from referencing the main SpongeBob series. In fact, it revels in it, weaving classic SpongeBob elements into Patrick's surreal TV marathon. As the telethon kicks off, Patrick's sister Squidina introduces a roster of neighborhood volunteers, manning the phone bank. Eagle-eye viewers will spot Squidward unhappily taking calls, but the real treats come during the outrageous performances. One standout segment is a cutaway to a black and white old movie-style scene featuring Plankton and Patrick in a Frankenstein parody. In this segment, Plankton's a mad scientist, known as Dr. Plankenstein, and Patrick plays his hunchbacked assistant, Patgore, a play on the actual character from Frankenstein, Igor. They have SpongeBob laid out on an operating table, playing the role of the yet-to-be animated monster. Now, for those who haven't caught it yet, this whole sketch is a loving spoof of Universal's Frankenstein, complete with thunderclap and lightning as Plankton shouts.
Ring! Ring! Give my phone life!
But it also sneaks in a SpongeBob-specific Easter egg. To jolt SpongeBob's Frankenstein body to life, Plankton uses a pair of whirly brains as the makeshift electrodes. We see two whirling pink brains with propellers attached to SpongeBob's head, spinning furiously as the electricity flows. And this is really cool, as these devices are a direct callback to the season 10 episode Whirly Brains. These toys right here.
Attach the propeller and watch your brain soar hundreds of feet into the air as you control the action.
These were one of the more bizarre gags in the series for sure, but it's cool to see Patathon resurrected. As I always say though, keeping it going, the telethon format of this episode allows for a lot of other random cameos. For example, another blink and you'll miss it gag is during one of Grand Pat Star's Daredevil stunt segments, as throughout the ride you can see blindfolded boxers slugging it it out as part of like the obstacle course. And you may recognize one of them, as one of them is Reg, the tough tattooed doorman from the iconic episode No Weenies Allowed.
Welcome to the Salty Spittoon. How tough are you?
I had a bowl of nails for breakfast this morning.
Yes, so?
Without any milk.
In that memorable Season 3 episode, Reg was the bouncer of the Salty Spittoon and famously denied SpongeBob entry for being too weak. Seeing Reg appear years later in Patathon, still buff and now randomly boxing in Patrick's backyard, is a hilarious deep cut. He doesn't have any lines, and it's purely a visual cameo, but for fans, the image of Reg is unmistakable. Even SpongeBob himself makes an appearance in this episode, despite it being Patrick's show, and he comes dressed for the occasion. When it's SpongeBob's turn to perform a brief dance number to encourage donations, he shows up wearing a pink tutu-like outfit called a mantu, a male version of a tutu. And longtime viewers might recall SpongeBob excitedly buying this exact same garment years in the past in the episode Toy Store of Doom.
Hey, Patrick.
Hey, SpongeBob, what's with the tutu?
It's not a tutu, it's a mantu. You can tell because it has
extra support.
It was a quick joke back then, but apparently SpongeBob held onto it, because here he is twirling in the same costume on Patrick's stage. Next up is the episode Squidward's Sick Days from Season 13. And in this one, Squidward ends up faking being sick just so he doesn't have to go to work, which is very Squidward. He's a very lazy guy sometimes. Just as you can imagine, this doesn't go as planned, and Mr. Krabs sends a certain somebody to look after Squidward.
Oh, you are in no condition to be alone. That's why I brought you some help. Take one of these and call me in the morning.
The doctor is in.
Now, there's actually quite a few Easter eggs in this episode, but for them to make sense, I gotta give you guys some context. So at the start of this episode, it's Squidward at work, and as you can see, he isn't having a very good time. Everyone's yelling at him, but it turns out that this is a nightmare. However, during the nightmare, he actually makes a certain face that is a reference to an older episode. For example, take a look at this clip right here. This face right here that Squidward makes when he screams is almost identical to this face that he made in the episode Graveyard Shift.
The sash ringing! The flash singing! The bash pinging!
The hash slinging slasher!
Here's a side-by-side, and let me know in the comments. I think that this was a pretty clear reference, or maybe it was just a happy accident. But either way, it's really cool. And if we fast forward a little bit, we'll get to this scene in the episode where Squidward is fantasizing about the perfect day, which includes him diving into a beautiful waterfront, jumping off of a waterfall, and along the way, we see his favorite snack. These right here are bonbons, and this is another reference. This bonbon snack first appeared in the episode Good Neighbors during this scene right here, and they're actually one of Squidward's favorite snacks. They're more of like a luxury treat, it seems.
This is gonna be a heavenly day. Oh, I almost forgot. Bonbons. Hello there, heaven's little wonder.
So yeah, it's cool to see them in Squidward's daydream. He really likes bonbons. I wanna try a bonbon right now. But before I can do that, I gotta finish this video, so let's do some more Easter eggs from this episode. Well, before an Easter egg, here's a very weird fun fact I found out while researching this video, and that's that in the original storyboards for this episode, SpongeBob was going to paint a painting and give it to Squidward, and it was going to feature SpongeBob and Squidward standing behind a heart of love. Now, this was drawn by storyboard revisionist Dylan Houston King, and when he posted it on Instagram, he included a certain tag, that being Squidbob, which is actually a reference to the character shipping of SpongeBob and Squidward, which pretty much features SpongeBob and Squidward in a romantic relationship. So I'm just pointing out that one of these storyboard artists literally referenced this, not in the show, but on their personal Instagram. So I thought I'd point that out. It's kind of funny. But back to the Easter eggs, as throughout this episode, SpongeBob helps, quote unquote helps. He doesn't really do a good job, but he tries to help Squidward feel better. And by the end of the episode, when he returns to work, Squidward goes through a bit of a transformation, as look.
I used to be sick of everything, but I'm not sick anymore. I've been plagued by toxins and stress built up over the years at this job, but SpongeBob washed those away.
As you can see, handsome Squidward makes a reappearance in this episode. Handsome Squidward first appeared back in the episode The Two Faces of Squidward, where his face got all messed up and then he became beautiful. He actually looks very handsome. And it seems that the animators or writers intentionally referenced this at the ending of this episode. And there's actually a nice touch here, as this is like a double entendre, all right? This is like a double Easter egg. As if you look, handsome Squidward has long blonde hair. And this itself is a callback to another episode of the original Fry Cook, where Squidward had long hair in the past until he lost it on the day that Jim quit working at the Krusty Krab. So yeah, 2 references in one, and that's really, really cool. One last fact I'm gonna mention before we wrap up this episode is that there's some reused audio here, as Patrick's scream when he falls from the window is actually reused from the episode Farmer Bob. Here's a side-by-side, here's the scream from Squidward's Sick Days.
Now to get rid of the other monkey on my back.
And here's the scream from Farmer Bob. And as you can see, they reused the same scream. It's not a big deal, but yeah, let's keep it moving. More Easter eggs. In the episode Making Waves, Mr. Krabs desperately needs a vacation away from the Chum Bucket's madness, which makes sense. I mean, he has to deal with Plankton doing all sorts of ridiculous stuff all year long, so he sets off on a luxury sea cruise, only to discover that Plankton has also booked the exact same trip. And worst of all, they're actually forced to share a cabin due to there being a mix-up on the cruise. As Mr. Krabs explores trying to find his room, the episode greets fans with a gallery of background Easter eggs, and they're all really cool. Like, for instance, a wanted poster on the bottom floor right here features a very rare character, none other than Iron Eye, one of Mr. Krabs' old Navy buddies from the season 4 episode Shell of a Man. Iron Eye hasn't been seen since that 2005 episode, where he was a part of Mr. Krabs' Tough Guy reunion. In that story, SpongeBob, disguised inside Krabs' molted shell, met Iron Eye at a Navy reunion, where Iron Eye did this to Mr. Krabs, or well, I guess he technically did it to SpongeBob.
Fire the torpedoes!
Later in the episode, Iron Eye also revealed that his intimidating metal eye was actually made of formica, while he and the other macho sailors confessed their own insecurities. Well, seeing Iron Eye's face on a cruise ship poster in Making Waves is a deep-cut reference, especially for nerds like me, who watched the show growing up, as it playfully implies Iron Eye might be up to no good, hence the wanted part. It'd be cool to see what the dude's been up to after nearly 2 decades off screen, but let's head over to another Easter egg. Real quick though, guys, I just want to say I'm one of the only non-AI SpongeBob sleep channels on YouTube, so please subscribe. I'm like a real person. This is my real voice. You can actually probably hear that I'm kind of sick right now. I just played a show. Here's a picture from my concert. That's me right there. So my voice is a little shaky, but please subscribe. I'm more showing that so you guys know I'm a real person. I'm not one of those crappy AI cartoon channels. So yeah. And if you're wondering why I sound so sick, that's why I got sick after the show. But anyways, back to the Easter eggs. Entering the cabin hallway, Mr. Krabs fails to notice a pair of creepy grinning toddlers holding hands in the corridor. And if they look familiar, that's because they are. Longtime viewers will recognize this spooky duo as a nod to the toddler from the episode Escape from Beneath Glove World. In that season 12 episode, SpongeBob and Patrick encountered a little boy, notably the youngest inmate in Glove World's underground jail, who kept wandering off and leading them on a chaotic chase throughout the crazy theme park. It seems the Making Waves team brought back that character model not once, but twice, as they appear here as eerie twin children, standing ominously in the hall. This moment is more than just a SpongeBob reference, it's also a horror movie homage. The image of the 2 kids holding hands, and them being twins, is a direct spoof of the ghostly Grady twins from the 1980 film The Shining. In fact, the show originally storyboarded an even stranger sight in this scene, a fish in a bear suit trying another fish's shoes. This very random and bizarre clip is actually another reference to the same film and a very bizarre moment from The Shining. However, in the end, the episode went for the twin scene instead, cutting what I just played you entirely from the episode. But there's actually more, as to drive the parody home, the cabin Mr. Krabs ends up in is room 237, another reference to The Shining, more specifically the infamous haunted room 237 from the Overlook Hotel. a location from The Shining. It's a clever multi-layered Easter egg, as within SpongeBob's universe it brings back minor characters, like the Glove World Toddler, but it also plays homage to a classic horror film movie. So whoever wrote this episode, or whoever put this in here, is definitely a big horror movie fan. But let's keep it going, as there's more Easter eggs in this one episode. Once Mr. Krabs and Plankton realize that they must share a cabin, both of their worst nightmares, they spend the cruise trying to one-up each other in various shipboard activities. This montage is packed with quick cameos. For example, at one point, the rivals hit the pool, and as Mr. Krabs wipes out at the end of a wild water slide ride, dragging Plankton along with him, let's take a closer look at the poolside crowd. As if we zoom in right here, we'll notice Squilliam Fancy Son, Squidward's wealthy, rich arch rival, lounging luxuriously by the pool, which is very fitting. You all probably know who this is, but for the few of you who don't, Squilliam hasn't appeared physically in the main series for years, with his last major appearance being all the way back in season 7. So seeing his distinctive unibrow in the background of this shot is a treat. For those who don't remember him though, let me jog your memory. Here's a clip of him from his most infamous episode, Band Geeks.
Squilliam Fancy Son from band class?
I hear you're playing the cash register now.
Yeah, that guy. And honestly, he needs to appear again. I think he does actually in season 16. But for now, let's stay on track of this episode making waves, because I've got even more Easter eggs. As later, when Mr. Krabs and Plankton attend the ship's dance club party, yet another veteran character makes a subtle comeback. In the throbbing neon atmosphere, we can see a DJ Fish spinning records in the background. This guy right here, I'm zooming in, and older fans will actually recognize him as the DJ from the Thug Tug scene in the original 2004 SpongeBob SquarePants movie.
DJ, time for the test.
This tall sunglasses wearing DJ was ordered by the Thug Tug's owner, Victor, to crank up the Goofy Goober song in an attempt to expose any bubble blowing babies in the bar. More specifically, SpongeBob and Patrick. Now, for the most part, the DJ's only appearance had been in this movie, but that was only until now. As in making waves, he's finally been incorporated into the series, with him being seen in this scene right here. It's a blink and you'll miss it Easter egg, as he's only seen briefly when Mr. Krabs and Plankton hit the dance floor, but it's a satisfying one, as it turns out the Thug Tug DJ has found a new job. He's got a new gig. Now here's the thing with this episode. Not every planned reference made it to air. For example, Making Waves had a particularly dark visual gag that got cut during production. In an earlier storyboard, Krabs and Plankton's rivalry escalated to them riding on firework rockets, which ultimately crashed into a family on deck. I mean, considering that they could have literally just killed that family, this joke was deemed too morbid by Nickelodeon and was removed from the final episode. It's very understandable, but let's head over to another episode, guys. I've got more Easter eggs in another episode. And a reminder, please subscribe. I'm really trying to hit 10K, guys. I hate YouTubers that constantly remind you to subscribe, but again, I'm one of the only non-AI SpongeBob channels here. Like, these videos take a long time. We put a lot of love into them, so please subscribe. But let's keep it moving. The episode, Pablum Plankton, puts a spotlight on our favorite one-celled villain and peppers the story with references that you guys are going to love, spanning SpongeBob's history and beyond. Premise is already tongue-in-cheek. Plankton accidentally wins a cutest baby contest and becomes the mascot for a popular baby food brand. The opening scene finds Plankton in his lab, concocting explosive chemicals. When he overhears SpongeBob and Karen, I don't know why SpongeBob is at Plankton's house, by the way, but he overhears his wife and SpongeBob giggling over a certain something. And this is where the first Easter egg comes in. To Plankton's horror, they're paging through his baby photos.
I was never adorable. These photos have gotta go.
You were such a cute baby.
Now, here's the thing. This image and all of these different images of baby Plankton that Karen shares are drawn in the exact same way that baby Plankton was drawn back in the season 5 episode Friend or Foe, making for some really cool continuity here, especially considering SpongeBob is a show that is very lazy with continuity sometimes. In other scenarios, they probably would have just done an entirely new design, but if you look at side-by-sides right here, you'll see that it's like almost identical, meaning the animators deliberately pulled from Friend or Foe's character model sheets. It's possible the artists reused it as a handy asset, but I don't know, it also kind of feels like an intentional Easter egg to me. Pretty cool, but let's keep it rolling and continue this episode. Plankton, of course, is mortified by the baby photo display, but the humiliation isn't over. SpongeBob, endeared by Plankton's cuteness, enters one of those baby pictures into the Baleen baby food contest. Shockingly, Plankton wins the contest. Actually, it isn't very shocking, I'm being rude. Look at these baby photos. He's a cute baby, but he wins the contest without even knowing it. And suddenly, he's thrust into fame, with him becoming the new face of the baby food brand.
Blipping butt cracks!
Buy some Baleen baby!
Now eventually, when SpongeBob and Plankton arrive at the contest awards ceremony, we get a look at the event's host, and it's a familiar character that's gone through a bit of a character redesign. This right here is the announcer fish. Longtime viewers should be able to recognize this character, but you might not be able to due to the character redesign. But to jog your memory, he's the same unnamed announcer who's popped up whenever Bikini Bottom holds a competition or an event. From the Goo Lagoon surfing contest in ripped pants,
There goes SpongeBob! Ripping his pants again.
to the snail race in The Great Snail Race.
Seriously, I'm just a fan. I was on my way to my seat, the door was open.
Hey, what are you doing?
No.
Sorry about that, folks.
However, observant fans also noticed this character design had been updated. In the earlier seasons, as you just saw, the announcer fish was a short, lilac-colored fish with black hair, and he'd wear this outfit as you can see here. But in Pablum Plankton, he appears taller and is a completely different color. He's like light green now, sporting a gray suit and a purple tie. The announcer fish declares Plankton the winner of the cutest baby contest and hands over an enormous prize check, $1 jillion. But yeah, this was a fun fact I kind of wanted to point out here, that they completely changed the fish's design. Here's a side-by-side, and I don't know why they did it, but they did it. Keeping it going though, becoming a baby food mascot is a dream come true for Mr. Krabs. However, it's a nightmare for Plankton. This leads to a brilliant series of references to Plankton's long-standing fear of whales. Now you're probably asking, Cartoon Corey, how is this an Easter egg? This is just a random thing that Plankton's scared of whales. It isn't actually very random. This is actually like a running character trait of Plankton. Fans will recall that Plankton is terrified of Pearl, Mr. Krabs' whale daughter, and whales in general, a character trait that we first seen in One Course Meal from season 7, where Mr. Krabs realizes that Plankton is for some reason scared of Pearl and takes advantage of this, dressing as a whale and scaring Plankton any chance that he gets.
Call off your daughter, Krabs! Call her off! Stay back, whale! I'm privy to what you do to organisms like me. I've seen those documentaries!
This also happened in the episode Plankton's Intern. In this one, Pearl actually interned at the Chum Bucket, and Plankton spent the whole time just tweaking out, convinced that she wanted to eat him. And this in itself, by the way, is an Easter egg, as in like real life, whales eat Plankton. That's why Plankton's so terrified of her, is like, that's just how it goes in real life. If you're a plankton, whales are going to eat you. So this is a fun little like real life gag right here. Not a real life gag, but you know what I mean. This is a scientific joke right here. But yeah, in Pablum Plankton, this entire thing is referenced. For example, once Plankton realizes his face is on a baby food jar for whale consumption, he's horrified in this scene right here.
Baleen baby food is made of 100%
Gold? What the heck is gold? Plankton!
One other thing I noticed during this episode, by the way, is that a very rare character makes another reappearance. And it takes place when Plankton's at the grocery store. As if we look over here and we zoom in, we can see that Squilliam Fancy Son makes another cameo. Lately, a lot of his appearances have been more background ones, and they're very blink and you'll miss it, where it's not like he has any dialogue, he's just literally chilling right there in the background. But yeah, it's cool to see him again, and like I said, I want him to have like a full-on episode soon. But as this episode continues, eventually, Plankton Plankton's anxiety drives him to sabotage. In a very dramatic and darkly funny turn, he steals all of the different baby baleen mascots and toys and drags them out to the desert to bury them, hoping to free himself from the contract. And it's here that this episode drops one of its wild Easter eggs or references, and it's especially weird because it's a joke that only an adult viewer would catch. As SpongeBob and Plankton dig a grave for all of the different toys, you can see in the background a striped RV with 2 lawn chairs set up beside it, an unmistakable recreation of the makeshift desert lab from the TV drama Breaking Bad. The RV's coloring and placement, plus the folding chairs, make this reference crystal clear. It's an edgy nod to a very non-kid-friendly TV show. But also, just saying, Breaking Bad is one of the best shows I've ever watched, so I guess it's pretty cool to see it. The episode Spongebob Trash Pants turns a simple beach cleanup into a high-speed spectacle, brimming with references to SpongeBob's past. The episode finds SpongeBob volunteering to rid Goo Lagoon, Bikini Bottom's beach, of litter. And in doing so, he essentially becomes a one-sponge sanitation army, complete with a snappy uniform.
Trash, everywhere trash. Picking up flotsam and jetsam. SpongeBob's the name, and litter's my game. So if you got garbage, I'll get some.
Well, longtime fans will immediately recognize SpongeBob's outfit in that last scene I just played, as it's almost a duplicate of the Union Soldier-style uniform he wore during the indoor campout of the Season 6 episode Pineapple Fever. The difference, though, this new version is bright white and sports a taller cap, but the homage is unmistakable. It's a fun visual cue that SpongeBob is entering battle mode against trash, much like he did against Cabin Fever. And indeed, he takes his new duty comedically seriously, which, as you guys know, that's how SpongeBob is. Remember when he became a hall monitor? He took that job equally as seriously. Anyways though, when this potato chip bag catches the breeze and flies off, SpongeBob gives chase across Bikini Bottom, and the episode becomes a grand tour of Easter eggs. The first stop, the boat rental kiosk at Goo Lagoon, which eagle-eyed viewers will remember from the episode Abandoned Twits. And there's more. As SpongeBob sprints past, determined to catch the rapper, he suddenly pulls off a classic gag. He deepens his voice to a booming baritone and sprouts a heroic square jaw. This hilarious transformation is a direct callback to this scene from the episode Hall Monitor.
And assume my duties as
Hall Monitor!
Wish me luck, Mrs. Puff. Gotcha!
Fell for the old tears of a trash man routine. I'll just put you in my pocket for safekeeping.
As you just seen, SpongeBob for a moment acquires a deep authority voice and ends up looking like a total Chad, a Giga Chad. Look at that jawline. In Hall Monitor, it was a part of his overzealous persona, and seeing it resurface in an episode years later, like 20 years later, is a perfect inside joke showing that SpongeBob is still a control freak, and he can have a really nice jawline sometimes. The chase scene becomes a who's who of Bikini Bottom cameos. At one point, the hot rod tough guy from the episode Midlife Crustacean zooms by in his flaming convertible.
Hey, you guys must be lost. Doofus Drive is around the corner.
This time though, he gets pulled over by a police officer for speeding. The tough guy instantly becomes a softie. He produces flowers and chocolate out of nowhere and hands them to the cop in apology. But meanwhile, in the midst of the chaos, Bubble Bass barrels through the scene wearing a familiar ensemble he wore way back in the Season 1 episode Fools in April. I guess Bubble Bass hasn't updated his wardrobe since 1999, which is a cute detail for observant fans. And keep your eyes peeled on the background as Bubble Bass tries to escape SpongeBob, as for a split second, Patrick is visible hanging from a carnival prize hook on the boardwalk, desperately trying to stay hidden. The visual gag references Patrick's antics in The Whole Tooth from Season 9, where in this scene he does a very similar action at a fair to avoid going to the dentist.
Wow.
And we have a winner.
Thank you.
Oh, darn it.
It's a tiny detail, but it rewards viewers who catch the parallel Patrick once again hooked at a fair. But guess what, guys? We're still not done. There's more, and there's a lot more. As SpongeBob's pursuit takes him through town, the animators populate the streets with old establishments we've seen in prior episodes. We pass by mattresses and then some, and if this store looks familiar, it's because we've seen it before. It's the exact same store from the old school episode The Lost Mattress, where SpongeBob and friends bought a new bed for Mr. Krabs. Next is Martha's Craft Zone, which again, we haven't seen it for a while. The last time we seen it was in the episode Have You Seen This Snail?, when SpongeBob gathered supplies to make Missing Gary posters. And then, in a triple whammy, we see Weenie Hut Juniors, the Pizza Pie Hole, and Taco Sombrero. Now I'm hungry, but this is the trio of fast food joints where SpongeBob tried working at when he got fired in the episode SpongeBob, You're Fired. Seeing all these locations on one boardwalk is like a mini SpongeBob map of memories, cleverly inserted without fanfare. They establish Bikini Bottom's continuity, as all of these places still exist and are open for business, even as SpongeBob rushes by on his mission. The climax of the chase sequence is equally jam-packed with even more references. SpongeBob ends up launching into the air and crashes directly into a horse-drawn funeral carriage, driven by Slappy, the living dummy character from Nickelodeon's crossover, The Patrick Star Show. As SpongeBob hurtles through the psychedelic sky, keen fans will notice it's the same sky tunnel that Mrs. Puff and SpongeBob flew through in the episode Doing Time. Here's a side-by-side, and yeah man, this is a reference to a season 3 episode. It's really cool. Reusing that distinctive swirling background for SpongeBob's trash flight is a brilliant deep cut. And even the title card of SpongeBob Trash Pants carries an Easter egg. Its design mimics the title card of Jellyfish Hunter from season 2, except now there's trash everywhere around the title. But actually, there's more, and you really need to be a nerd to catch this one. As a cherry on top, the episode slips in a meta reference that even the most seasoned fans might have been stunned by. For those who don't know, a WH-2O radio tower appears during the chase, a sunken red and white boat with a tall antenna, mass broadcasting music. Casual viewers might just see a random radio station, but SpongeBob nerds like me recognize WH-2O as the fictional Bikini Bottom radio from the Best Day Ever album, a SpongeBob music album released in 2006 that opened with a WH-2O skit. I'm gonna play it here. I'm gonna try to put some music in the background maybe so it doesn't get claimed, but listen.
Hi, radio listeners. This is SpongeBob SquarePants. When I'm in Bikini Bottom, I listen to Al Bacori, the tuneful tuna, on WH2O. WH2O.
In Trash Pants, this very station is shown for the very first time in the series, making the first ever crossover of a SpongeBob album element into the TV show. On the other side of the station is text proudly declaring nothing but chase music since 2006, a cheeky reference to the album's release year and the jaunty chase music it featured. It's an Easter egg that nobody saw coming, not even me, breaking the wall between SpongeBob music and cartoon canon. And with that, SpongeBob Trash Pants cements itself as a treasure trove of inside jokes. An episode that, much like SpongeBob's trusty uniform, stitches the old and new together in one entertaining package. In the episode Laundro Madness, SpongeBob and Squidward take a mundane errand, washing clothes at the laundromat, and turn it into a wacky monster movie that gleefully cleans up on references. The episode brings back the wash, the same Bikini Bottom laundromat that Mr. Krabs, SpongeBob, and Patrick visited during their night out in Midlife Crustacean.
Hello, gang. SpongeBob's back.
Let's party! Any port in this door? Wait a minute. This is a laundromat.
I guess the writers in season 16 really like this episode, Midlife Crustacean. It's a good episode, man. Remember when Mr. Krabs stole his own mom's underwear? That's a story for another day, but let's keep it moving. Die Hard fans will remember that in that season 3 episode, the trio's big evening of fun ended up turning into doing laundry at the wash. As you guys have seen in my more recent videos, and even in this one, this seems to be a big trend in recent seasons, is them taking locations or characters from older episodes and making them a part of the world of SpongeBob instead of them just being one-off locations. For example, this wash place was just a one-off location in Midlife Crustacean, so it's cool that they're making it like a part of the lore. But let's keep it moving. As the episode progresses, and after an intense cycle, SpongeBob triumphantly presents Rube's freshly cleaned hat, and in that moment, he strikes a familiar pose. His face is the spitting image of the goofy, anticipatory grin he showed in the Krusty Krab training video episode, when waiting for the narrator to reveal the secret formula. It's the same wide-eyed, toothy face full of excitement, and fans of that classic training spoof will instantly recall SpongeBob quivering with that exact same expression. Here's a side-by-side, and yeah, like you can see it. This is a really cool reference, but of course I've got more. The mundane soon turns monstrous as an overloaded washing machine comes to life, assembling itself into a sudsy giant. In forming its body, it grabs odds and ends from around the laundromat, and one of those items times had SpongeBob fans cheering Patrick's high-heeled boots. Oh yeah. The washing machine yanks a pair of women's stiletto boots, and we see that they're the exact same that Patrick donned in this iconic scene from the original SpongeBob SquarePants movie. The monster uses them as one of its makeshift legs. It seems Patrick's fashion choice was memorable enough to haunt Bikini Bottom's laundry. And speaking of familiar faces, as the climax unfolds, none other than Fish Cowboy from the episode Boating Buddies saunters into the wash.
I think we all learned a lesson here today, and I wrote a song about it.
In Boating Buddies, this country western fish randomly appeared. Roll the footage.
I never will understand these city folk.
Laundro Madness brings him back for an encore, as at the end, as everyone celebrates defeating the laundry monster, this cowboy strums a guitar and sings a twangy tune called Wash and Dry. It's the same character and same gag, now hilariously repurposed for a laundromat victory song. It's an Easter egg that could easily fly under the radar, but for those who remember the random cowboy singer, it's a really cool surprise to see him return. It's random, but it's really cool. Finally though, the showrunners couldn't resist one more tongue-in-cheek reference. Throughout the episode, a bright orange and blue detergent box is visible right here, and its design and color scheme are unmistakably evoking from the famous Tide laundry detergent brand. And I mean, come on, this one's obvious.
Tilly, be nice. Leave that starched shirt alone.
By the end of this episode, the laundromat is saved, Squidward's shirt is clean, albeit with some battle scars, and the audience is left marveling at how many jokes and references were put in this episode. I mean, from bringing back the wash, an old location we haven't seen in years, to referencing SpongeBob's first movie, Laundro Madness is a great episode with lots of nostalgia. In the episode near Mint Plankton, Plankton concocts a new scheme by shrinking down and disguising himself as a collectible figurine. And why? You guys know why. He wants to snag one of those delicious Krabby Patties without Mr. Krabs noticing. Very clever, Plankton. Instead though, he ends up in the clutches of Bubble Bass, who is an avid collector of limited edition superhero memorabilia. This guy is obsessed. And we're gonna get into the Easter eggs, but I gotta say, I do like how they changed Bubble Bass's character over the years. Originally, he was just this rude dude who liked pickles, but they've kind of turned him into the nerdy character who's obsessed with nerd stuff. Anyways though, this episode's premise naturally sets the stage for a literal treasure trove of different SpongeBob nostalgia and Easter eggs. For example, when Mr. Krabs cashes in on the collector craze by selling special edition Krabby Patties, the varieties on offer are a delightful deep cut from the season 9 episode Munity on the Krusty. In that earlier episode, it's actually really old now, from like 2015 I think, but in this episode, SpongeBob introduced novelty patties like the Hattie Patty, a Krabby Patty that you wear as a hat. There's also the Chatty Patty, a talking patty for teens, and the Bratty Patty, a kitty patty with a backwards baseball cap.
And he's the man who brought you the double Krabby Patty, and the Krabby Patty with cheese, and the Bratty Patty for kids.
This patty's stealing my style. I'm the only one who's allowed to wear a backwards baseball cap, guys. Come on. Surely enough though, near Mint Plankton shows Bubble Bass proudly adding a new pickle patty to his collection, right alongside his Chatty, Hattie, and Bratty patties. The very same whimsical burgers first seen during Munity on the Krusty. This is a clever callback that rewards eagle-eyed fans. And even Bubble Bass's line, "I'll place it next to my Chatty, Fatty, and Bratty patties," directly references those legendary novelties. It's not like they just showed them, he literally refers to them by name, so we know this is an Easter egg. But let's keep it moving, as Bubble Bass's basement itself is a shrine to SpongeBob lore. Viewers can spot a statue of SpongeBob dressed as a certain superhero. Take a look at this clip from the episode Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy 5, more specifically the superhero that SpongeBob turns into. This guy right here is the Quickster, and we haven't really seen him since Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy 5. We've seen some of the other superheroes in this episode. For example, in Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy 5, Sandy dresses up as Miss Appear, another superhero that can turn invisible. But we've actually seen Miss Appear a couple of times since then. For example, example in the episode Delivery of Doom, or in the episode Appointment TV, as you can see here. But the Quickster, we haven't seen this character for a long time, but that all changed in near Mint Plankton, as look, amongst Bubble Bass's collectibles, there's this statue of SpongeBob dressed up as the Quickster. This blink and you'll miss it background gag firmly anchors the episode in SpongeBob's wider universe. And who knows, maybe we'll see the Quickster again in the future. I would love to see another episode where they all dress up as superheroes, but I've got more, and the Easter eggs are gonna get even crazier as we go. That way, if you guys are still awake, you haven't fallen asleep yet, at least I can keep you guys entertained. But you should be asleep already, bro. What are you doing? You got work or school tomorrow. Go to sleep. I love you. I'm trying to support you here. But anyways, here's the next episode. The episode Heart of Garbage, another one from season 16, plunges Bikini Bottom into dystopian chaos when Squidward's home becomes ground zero for an ever-growing mountain of trash. Ew. Like, look at this. I can smell it from here. It reminds me of SpongeBob's breath back in the episode Something Smells. It also reminds me of something else, but we'll get to that in a moment. In a storyline that is part parody, part homage, Squidward accidentally angers the garbage men and ends up literally trapped in garbage for 6 months.
The trash goes in the truck, not on my lawn. Just put the garbage where it's supposed to go.
Dude, imagine being trapped in garbage for that long. Oh my god. Just imagine how bad Squidward smells right now. But more importantly, guys, this is actually a reference to something. This riffs on Joseph Conrad's Heart of Darkness and its famous film adaptation, Apocalypse Now. The entire episode functions as a playful underwater echo of that classic tale. And I mean, just look at the plot. SpongeBob and Patrick must venture through a garbage jungle to find Squidward, much like Marlowe taking a journey up a river to find Kurtz.
You made it this far, but you still must pass the booby traps up ahead.
Please!
This homage is acknowledged right in the title as well. I mean, it's called Heart of Garbage, which is a direct spoof of Heart of Darkness. Also, fun fact, longtime viewers will recall that this isn't the first time that Squidward's house has been overtaken by trash. Back in season 7's Keep Bikini Bottom Beautiful, SpongeBob once helped Squidward avoid littering fines by moving all of his litter to his house, thus turning his house into a house of garbage, complete with trash furniture and a trash bed. I don't think that bed would be very comfy, guys. Like right now, you're probably in bed watching this video. Imagine if you were in that garbage bed, you would not be getting any sleep. But anyways, Heart of Garbage hilariously encapsulates that concept. But instead of a one-off slight gag, the entire interior of Squidward's real house becomes a sprawling garbage labyrinth that SpongeBob and Patrick have to navigate. The episode Go Fetch stands out in SpongeBob history as the first fully CGI animated episode of the series, and it uses unique visuals to drive into a simple, sweet adventure. Gary's favorite red ball bounces into a deep, monster-filled trench, and SpongeBob loyally plunges in after it.
Good thing this huge pile of lost balls broke our fall.
From the very start, the animators hid references in the background art, but not all of it made it into the final episode. For example, early concept paintings for the trench include scenery modeled after SpongeBob's season 1 episode, Muscle Bob Buff Pants. And there's also a scene that didn't make it into the episode, resembling imagery from SpongeBob's season 4 episode, Have You Seen This Snail? Which is fitting because this episode does follow a similar plot. Now these are subtle nods. A rock formation here, a lighting setup there, that gives long viewers a warm sense of deja vu as SpongeBob and Gary descend through the dark depths. But the treasures of Go Fetch aren't just in the scenery, they're also in the props and characters. Gary's coveted red ball is a direct continuity nod to the episode Gary's New Toy from season 9, where Gary becomes obsessed with this toy.
Go and get it.
As you can see, this ball is very similar to the one in Go Fetch. In fact, the ball here is actually identical to the one to that episode, down to its color and pattern. Seeing Gary refuse to give up on his toy is extra rewarding if you recall how much the snail loved his bouncy ball back in Gary's New Toy. The Thing became obsessed with the toy. I don't know why I just called Gary a thing, but he was obsessed with that ball. And there's more. As SpongeBob chases Gary's ball deeper, they encounter a ghostly translucent fish lurking in the abyss. And if you're a true SpongeBob fan, you'll recognize the design, as it bears a striking resemblance to a quirky character from the SpongeBob SquarePants movie. In the movie, a similarly transparent floater appears during the trench scene, and here that design resurfaces as if the film and show have converged. It's a blink and you'll miss it cameo, but a thrilling one, to be honest. It's really cool to see a reference to that OG 2004 SpongeBob movie. If you haven't watched that, seriously go watch it, it's really good. Now, despite being a modern technical showpiece, like this is the first episode in 3D animation, and hopefully it's the last. I like 2D SpongeBob, but this one still feels almost nostalgic in spirit. It even includes a gentle tribute to the late Steven Hillenburg's storytelling style, mostly visual, adventurous, and guided by music and expression, and all without saying a word. So really good episode, and I've got more. Let's head over to more Easter eggs in this next episode. As a 2-part Halloween special, The Haunted Bucket overflows with spooky fun and callbacks to SpongeBob's own haunted history. The episode's setup sees SpongeBob, Patrick, and Squidward entering the Chum Bucket on Halloween night, only for Plankton's latest evil gadget to malfunction and rip open a portal to a ghostly underworld.
Why are they dressed like cowboys?
Well, I bought the Chum Bucket cheap because it was built on an ancient cowboy burial ground.
What follows is a cascade of visual gags and references that will make any longtime fan cackle like the Flying Dutchman. In fact, speaking of the Dutchman, Squidward shows up to Mr. Krabs' Halloween party wearing his old Flying Dutchman costume. And if it looks familiar, it's because it's from this scene I'm about to play from the episode Scaredy Pants. Roll the clip.
I've come for your pickle.
Here's a side-by-side, and yeah, he's wearing the exact same costume, and I love this, man. Like, this episode is season 16, so it came out in 2025. Scaredy Pants came out in the early 2000s, so whoever wrote this episode or this gag, they did their research. You know, I wonder if Squidward dresses up as the Flying Dutchman every year, and if he does, it's kind of funny, because this is the same dude who put Squidward down the Fly of Despair. This happened in the episode Shanghai, and just look, poor Squidward. Actually, maybe he's dressing up as him so that doesn't happen again. But anyways, once the real haunting begins in this episode, SpongeBob himself ends up transformed into a special form, and keen-eyed viewers will notice that it's the same look he sported in Season 7's The Curse of Bikini Bottom. In that episode, SpongeBob and Patrick were turned into transparent green ghosts by the Dutchman's curse.
You're ghosts!
Ooh. We're ghosts!
Yay! This isn't really working out the way I imagined.
The Haunted Bucket gives SpongeBob a similar ghostly appearance when he accidentally gets zapped by Plankton's machine, echoing the previous episode I just mentioned. Meanwhile, SpongeBob and Patrick's choice of Halloween costumes is also a deep cut in itself. Take a look.
We're going as a simul! Uh-oh. I think we're both rear ends.
As you just seen, SpongeBob and Patrick dress up as a 2-person horse. This silly getup actually resembles Patrick's own horse alter ego from the episode Pat the Horse, in which Patrick pretended to be a horse for literally a whole episode. Like, I'm not lying. Take a look at this clip.
Calm down, buddy. I don't want to lose you again.
But the episode doesn't stop at character costumes. The entire Chum Bucket laboratory is dressed up with references. When Plankton chases the trespassers into his basement lab, the set piece will look familiar, as the lab's layout closely resembles the high-tech lab seen in Welcome to the Chum Bucket, right down to the large machines and eerie lighting. Like, here's a side-by-side and you can definitely see it. Additionally, SpongeBob's old robot Spongebob makes a cameo in the corner, and this is the same robot version of SpongeBob from the episode Welcome to the Chum Bucket.
Get welded.
Wait! I command you, make me a Krabby Patty!
There's another Easter egg during that same Plankton laboratory scene, with the animators even throwing in a transmogrifter device from the episode The Algae's Always Greener, another infamous Plankton invention that swapped his life with Mr. Krabs. It's sitting amongst the junk in the lab, and it's a blink and you'll miss it type of Easter egg for sharp viewers who recall that life-switching remote control. These background details firmly root the Haunted Bucket in SpongeBob's lore, making the Chum Bucket feel like a haunted museum of Plankton's Plankton's past schemes. I love it. And there's more. At one point, Plankton frantically brainstorms how to stop the rampaging ghosts he's unleashed and muses that he needs something absorbent yet porous. Does that sound familiar to you guys? Well, it's an obvious nod to the SpongeBob theme song, where it says absorbent in yellow and porous is he. It's a clever fourth wall poke that suggests Plankton knows exactly who can save the day.
All we need now is something to contain those ghosts.
Something absorbent, yet porous.
Oh.
Even the trick-or-treating montage is loaded with Easter eggs. For example, who remembers the character Kenny the Cat? He appeared in literally the episode called Kenny the Cat, and take a look at this clip. He was an interesting character.
But down here, I'm someone special. Someone who can make people happy. And if making the world a happier place makes me a criminal, then lock me up and throw away the key.
This is how Kenny the Cat looks. And remember this as it's important. If we go back to that trick-or-treating montage scene, look.
Hello?
As you just saw, one of the background kids is dressed as Kenny the Cat, complete with whiskers and a ear headband. And he even has a poster of Kenny in his house, referencing the famous air-breathing feline from the episode Kenny the Cat. This is really cool because it's more world building. Kenny the Cat is a celebrity in Bikini Bottom, if you guys remember from the episode Kenny the Cat, so it makes sense that a kid would have a poster of him and would dress up as him. This was really good writing here. But if we look closely, another costume child twirls in a sparkly pink gown. Well, a lot of people think that this could be a reference to Glinda, the Good Witch from The Wizard of Oz. Here's a side-by-side. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. You should be sleeping though. You shouldn't be commenting anything actually. Just stay sleeping, close those eyes, and let Cartoon Corey put you to sleep. It sounded kind of creepy, but I don't mean it like that. But let's keep it moving, as just when you think the Haunted Bucket has packed every single SpongeBob reference possible, it even tips its hat to Charlie Brown. Some of you guys might not know Charlie Brown because you're young, but Charlie Brown is like an iconic cartoon from back in the day. But yeah, a few scenes gently parody the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown special, with pumpkin ghosts and candy gags that Peanuts aficionados will definitely recognize. All of these homages and in-jokes are woven seamlessly into the narrative. The characters never pause to explain them, like I do, but fans like me in the know will be very happy with this episode, so go give it a watch.